we'll start with an opening statement from Coach.
It's good to see everybody. It's been a great month so far. I just love where this football team's at. We're really excited to welcome our friends from Hawaii over here next weekend. Obviously, with the Pacific Islander Heritage, game, it's going to be. I know there's a lot of really cool stuff planned for our fans to honor, that demographic. I think it's going to be really, really fun. It's going to be really, really cool. You're going to see some cool performances that I think you'll hear about as this thing gets closer and closer. But I think it's going to be an awesome night in Arizona Stadium. Anytime, we talk a lot or we go back and forth about just the value of a college football game and what the experience is. And I think when you combine the Zona Zoo and the pride of Arizona, it creates such a special atmosphere, along with our fans and our alums and everybody, and obviously the game. But just experiencing a college football game, it's such a special thing. And I know we've talked a lot over the last year about creating a home field advantage for our football team, and we're serious about it. We need the city of Tucson. We need our fans. We need our alums. We need our students. We need the Zona Zoo rocking. We need, our faculty. We need everybody. We are calling all cars on this thing so that we can make Arizona Stadium the kind of place that our opponents dread coming to. And that's really what we're trying to achieve. But it's been a great camp. I'm really excited about where we're at. I think we still got some work to do and we got some time. But it's been really, really good week. And we had a great night tonight, and we had a cool interaction with the Zona Zoo and all those, those students that are either coming back to campus or are new to campus. And our team got to say hello to them. So tonight was a great night, great practice, and we're looking forward to what's next. And so we're going to keep pushing forward. But there's a lot of momentum with this team. I love where we're at, and I can't wait to see what we do next weekend.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go to questions with Justin and then Jason.
So after 18 practices and watching this team over the last few weeks, what was impressive about how this team was able to come together?
Well, I think by design, we've just had an incredibly physical football, training camp. And, that part of it, I love how the players have embraced it. I think the coaching staff is obviously leaning into that space a lot. I know y'all talked to Coach Daggy and Coach Gonzalez yesterday, and they talked a lot about just playing with violence and physicality and how important that is for our football program. And I think there's been just a really high standard for that in training camp. And so I think the players have done a great job with it, pushing through the little nicks and the bumps and bruises and still showing up and practicing their tails off every day. And I think that's something that, guys having a clear understanding of how we want to play and what red line is and what that needs to look like. And I think we're making great progress there.
Jason?
How would you kind of assess Hawaii having a game before they play you? Is it a positive, negative, neither?
I think it's both. I think them having a chance to play and get the kinks out and do some of that stuff and just the procedure stuff and get hit and get tackled and play some real football. I think there's value in that. And then I think there's also value in us getting to see them play, right? So I think it's, both things can be true.
And then how do you weigh guys that maybe have missed a portion of camp starting to come back versus the guys that have kind of been practicing in terms of who starts, who, do you throw them right into the mix, or how do you kind of work with that?
Well, it depends on, we still got, a handful of practices before we play the game. And so some of that stuff will get worked out next week. If guys aren't available to practice, they're obviously not going to play. So, that part of it. But I think there's also, a reality where injuries are part of the game. And if someone is demonstrated that they can play, at the red line standard and they know what to do and they're good players, like that might trump somebody who's not quite ready or who has been practicing. And so we'll determine that based on kind of how the injury report kind of continues to roll over the next week, and then also what they do in practice.
Troy and then Brian.
One of the things you guys talked about going into training camp and really spring football is the added depth at the receiver, the speed and all that kind of stuff. Just your thoughts of training camp for them and then guys like Gio and Isaiah, how they develop throughout this time.
No, we talk about a lot. I think Bobby Wade's an outstanding football coach, and those guys have really embraced, because it's a big group and there's a lot of talent in that group. And I think Bobby's done a great job of managing that and making them all continue to dive into the work, continue to compete. That's the goal, is to have super high level competition at every position on our team so that every day in practice, it is a pressure cooker and they have to feel that. And if they run the wrong route or they drop a pass, well, someone else is coming in, and that someone else, if that guy plays better, he might take their spot. You know what I mean? So I think the competition has been great there. I think we've added good players there. I've been really encouraged by the young players. Mizell and Gio, I think, have both shown a lot of really good stuff this spring, some real maturity, which I'm excited about. And then you continue to see, Spivey's, really had a great camp, and I'm excited about him and kind of his continued development from, post-spring ball, like what the last few months have been for him. And then Luke Weissong is just a war daddy. Like, that guy goes hard every day, and he's just an awesome teammate, and he's a really, really fun football player. So I love what's happening in that room, and obviously everyone knows, what Chris Hunter can do. And I'm excited to see him to take the next step in his career, because I think he can be an all-conference level receiver, and so that's a lot of fun. And then Chris Hudson is a playmaker. So there's a lot of pieces in there that I think I think our fans are gonna love watching that group play.
Brian and then David.
What are the goals for the mock game on Saturday? Is it mostly just the procedural side to get the accustomed to everything?
No, we're gonna practice some. Some of the procedural stuff we'll work on will actually be in like real practice, thud tempo type situations. We'll have a crew of Big 12 officials here, which will help us work some of those mechanics, and it'll give me a chance to get the coaches off the field and get everybody on the sideline and have to operate like a real game, so that the guys just get used to that. And like when you're in training camp, you're so used to running on the field and telling a guy what to do, or run on the field and coaching a guy right after the play. So I think some of that will be, like, we'll get a lot of that done on Saturday. Just like the procedural stuff, the mechanics, but we'll be doing it within the framework of a practice. And then obviously a lot of special teams work needs to go into that too.
And when you spoke to the team, or had the team speak and all that before, why was Chris Hunter the one that you chose to talk to everybody?
Just because he's got a big personality. Yeah, and so, like all wideouts. No, I could have chosen 20 guys. I think because last weekend we went and spoke to the Pride of Arizona at their start of their training camp, and you want to talk about a group of young people that works hard. Good Lord, and like Shoop isn't playing. Like, he has those. They're out there now. You know what I mean? But they're awesome, and Chris did a great job talking to them. So I thought he'd be good to talk to the Zona Zoo. But did you see how many kids were here? That was fantastic. It was awesome. I can't wait to see them. I just hope that they're energized and fired up for this football season, and they can be something that gives us an advantage on game day.
David and then Michael.
Coach, obviously you're instituting a new offense with what Seth's bringing in. Where do you think they are, the players, in terms of the comfortability with what this scheme is all about?
I think we have a pretty good feel for it. I really do. I think that some of that stuff is hard because you don't know until you play, right? Until you're out there with an opponent on the field and fans in the stands, and kind of the stress and the pressure that those things create. But I think the players, Noah has been playing at a high level all of training camp. He has really good command of the scheme. I think there's like little details that we're still tinkering and fine tuning over the next couple of practices. But I think, the other part of that is, like, as we get into a game plan, instead of the entire offense being in, right, that gets streamlined, and that you're operating off the bar menu and not the full menu. And so because of that, I think those things will get cleaned up quickly.
And what was maybe the biggest thing you saw from the defense in terms of, them really making it tough for the offense in this camp?
I think just what they do is different, and I think the movement and the thing that I like the most about what our defense is doing is I think they're playing their butts off. I think they're playing incredibly hard, running to the football, and population around the football is everything in this game. And so, I think that part of it is going to be a lot of fun to watch as Coach Gonzalez and the defensive staff continues to turn up the heat in that room and get those guys really playing with their hair on fire. But I'm encouraged with what I've seen so far.
Michael and then Justin.
What are your thoughts on the birth of the availability report in the Big 12 and how they've structured it?
I think it's great. I think it's, it seems like most people in college football are now going to be in some kind of alignment with the availability report. And so I think that's good for everybody. I think it's good for the fans. I think it's good for the media. I think it's a relief for us as coaches. And so I think it's going to be a good thing. I think it's going to be a good thing for everybody.
Do you think that you and Kansas State might agree to have one that week, or would it still kind
Oh,
of
that's
be
a good
off
question.
limits?
I don't know. I mean, that wouldn't bother me, whatever. Yeah. You know, I know we've talked about it a lot in here over the last year. I always just felt like I didn't want to tell the opponent who was playing and who wasn't. You know what I mean? It's just, and because they didn't force you to in the previous years, you know, that's why we didn't talk about injuries. And I learned that from a couple of people that I worked for, just because I felt like when you had an injured player, that became so much of the story with the media and with all the, and like the good stuff wasn't being talked about, like the good things the team was doing or the good thing that were happening with the program. So like now I think it's just cleaner and it's uniform. Everyone has the same rules and the same stuff and it's going to be done the same way. So I think it's going to be a good thing for us.
Justin and then Jason.
Where are you guys at regarding kicker in that competition?
You know, I'm not sure. I think Michael's a little bit ahead right now. He obviously, you know, at the end of practice, he had a big time kick in there to finish off a 2-minute drive, which was great. It was great to see him run out there and pound it, you know, through the uprights. So I'm excited. That's been fun. I think Tyler's done a great job all the training camp. It's been a lot of fun to watch those two compete. And I think, you know, like we'll see how that goes. I think that's one of those things. There's no way to simulate the pressure of a game for a kicker until you're in the game.
And then what have you heard regarding this Lanu Legacy
Yeah.
Foundation and Anti-Benji?
And yeah, Anti-Benji's been helping us, you know, plan the Pacific Islander heritage game here and some of the stuff surrounding it. And I think it's really cool. You know, she's starting a nonprofit that's going to, you know, benefit people from that area of the world. And I think she's got a really good plan, a really good business plan to roll it out, and I think it's going to be really successful.
Jason.
Last night, Danny had kind of mentioned what you mentioned before. In
250-year anniversary of Tucson.
your approach to retaining the team and how maybe you kind of had to not hurt feelings, you know?
Sure.
In terms of buy-in, do you feel that it is better this year than it maybe was last year?
I think so. I think it feels better. I think the players would tell you that. You know, I think Danny talked about it. I talked about it with y'all. I've talked about it with the media when I was at the Big 12 Media Day. I think it was a complicated way to start. And I don't think I did a good job of managing that. I don't think I did a good job of establishing how we were going to do business here as a program. And that was one of the things that as we got through the season and all the ups and downs and the frustration of the season, that was very clear to me how we needed to move forward as a program. And that's what I talked to you guys at the start of spring practice in terms of cementing our personnel, our performance, and our culture. And like that, but that started in December. You know what I mean? That didn't start in spring ball. That started in December. And making sure that we had players who love the University of Arizona, want to be here, love football. You know, we were just trying to make that, like, that was the very clear parameters for what we were trying to build it with. And I think the players that we have here check all of those boxes. And so I'm excited about that.
We'll finish up with Justin.
Looking ahead to the upcoming week, the game preparation, what are goals or some things that you would like to get done before then?
Well, I'm excited about Saturday because I think Saturday we'll be able to do some work about some of the situational stuff and the mechanical stuff that's just hard to do without officials here every day and that part of it. I think, getting a chance to see them play, are they going to be the same? Are they going to do the same thing on third down? Are they going to do the same thing? And what is Stanford doing? What Stanford does that help us or not? Sometimes you have an opponent and they line up in 13 personnel the whole game and you're like, well, we're an 11 or 10 or 12 personnel team. It doesn't help, so like, depending on how that can help us. But I think that we'll continue to tighten up the game plan, in all three phases and see what that looks like. But my favorite thing about this team this year so far is how hard they practice. Like they are playing their butts off, and it's been a lot of fun. And every coach is saying that to me, when I'm checking in, hey, what do you think of practice today? What did you see? Whatever it is, like everyone's really encouraged by that.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, bear down.